This is Eastmans Elevated podcast. I have on great guests that are really knowledgeable, consistently successful. We're able to dive deep down the rabbit holes of these different subject matters of shooting, of physical fitness, of mental toughness and drive. All the different skills that make up a complete hunter that you can become.
Here's your host, Brian Barney.
Hey, what's happening, guys? Got a brand new podcast for you. So this week I have on my good buddy, Sean Curran. So Sean resides in Hawaii and gets a ton of experience hunting axis and Mouflon sheep. In fact, we're just finishing up this Mouflon sheep hunt, and so everything's so fresh in our heads. And the subject matter for today is advanced spot and stalk. Bow hunting's all about seizing the moment and making good on those opportunities when they present themselves. And the better you are at spotting and stalking, and the better you are at keeping your cool during the moment, just the more trophies that you're going to harvest. And so we do a deep dive on it. Sean's the perfect guy for it. He's extremely successful. He harvested a ram on this hunt, and then he actually just flew out of Montana a few days ago and was successful out here on a bull elk and on a buck antelope. He's a heck of a hunter. He's got great insight. So I really enjoyed the conversation, and I know you guys will too. Sponsor for today's show is Swagger Bipods. Swagger just builds the best bipods on the market. It's such an intelligent design. So they make a model that'll mount to your rifle stock. It has extendable legs on it. It's got spring-loaded. It's spring-loaded, the legs are, which creates tension, which you can spread them as wide as you want to, as narrow as you want to. You can also use that tension to pull that rifle stock into your armpit, which makes for a real stable shooting position. It's also a great bipod as you can twist while you're shooting on the rest. So a lot of bipods you have to pick up and set back down if that animal walks right or walks left. That Swagger is designed so you can just twist on that bipod and keep on your target. They also build another model. They make shooting sticks, so if you don't like the weight on your stock of your rifle, you can carry their shooting sticks. It's got the same intelligent design where things are spring-loaded for tension, for moving your rifle up or moving your rifle down. Shooting a rifle accurately is all about your rest, and Swagger just gives you the best rest possible. So if you're in the market for shooting sticks, if you're in the market for bipod, make sure to check Swagger out. The other sponsor for today's show is Mathews Bows. I am in love with Mathews Bows. I really believe they build the best bows on the planet. I am so impressed. I love the last few years models, but the Verdicts this year is just absolutely off the hook. It's such a forgiving bow. It's such a great shooter. I'm getting great performance out of it. I just trust that thing with my entire season. Those engineers and the research and design portion at Mathews are working their tails off. And every year they just keep improving those models, and they're the absolute top of the heap. That Verdicts is so quiet, so smooth, so forgiving. I don't even know how they can top themselves after this bow, but I'm in love with it. It's been a great shooter for me in the season. Did really well on this past Hawaii trip, did really well on this past elk trip. I'm just so impressed. If you guys are in the market for a new bow, make sure to shoot that Mathews. They really are building the best bows out there, and I really like them. So thanks to Mathews for their support of the podcast. With that, over there at Eastmans, seeing a few pictures come through. I think the hunt winners have been shooting some elk out there, and then I saw a picture last night of a buck that Ike killed. Ike killed a heck of a buck. It's got a big flyer on it, nice big frame, good fronts, good backs, just a gorgeous deer. So pumped for him. He had some success. I saw Dan arrowed that good bull. I saw him arrow a buck antelope. I'm not sure what else he's turned out, but he's a heck of a hunter, and I'm sure he's going to produce some more careers. So it's really fun to enjoy in everybody's success, see the text messages come through. I've had a little success myself, which always feels good, and I just can't believe how fast the fall goes. Seems like you got all this time in front of you, and pretty soon it's over and gone and in the rearview mirror. So I still got some good ones coming up. I got an elk tag that I'm super excited about here in Montana, so I've kind of been holding out. And yeah, gonna go for a good bowl, see if we can't get this one on film, hook up with my good buddy Dan again. Gonna do another one of those live podcasts. It was really fun putting that out to you guys, and I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Like anything, the more you do, the better you get. So I definitely see some improvements I can make, but overall, I'm really happy with the way it came out and the way it was portrayed. It's as authentic as it gets, as you get to see the highs and lows of things during a mule deer hunt or high country mule deer hunt. So it'll be awesome for me to look back on as well and listen to in the off season. But super stoked. Got some great recordings coming up to you guys, some great Beyond the Grids, and yeah, just some great content while we're in hunting season here. We still got some hunts left, so keep hunting hard. And yeah, let's get into this podcast. So my buddy Sean Curran, me, your host, Brian Barney, Eastmans Elevated, here we go. Okay, I'm live here. I got my buddy Sean Curran. We're just finishing up an epic hunt here in Hawaii, and so I'm at his house, and we thought we'd sit down and record a podcast. Thanks as always, Sean.
Sure, Brian. It's just been another epic adventure.
Oh my gosh, was it ever? Yeah, we just had an absolutely awesome hunt. We're going to have the other guys show up tonight and do like a podcast on this sheep hunting, deer hunting that we've been doing, but I wanted to sit down with you today. We got some time this afternoon and just record one like on spot and stalk hunting. You know, you get so much experience out here in Hawaii, so many chances to move on animals and make plays on animals, and they're so good at catching you that you get really good at stalking and still hunting. And so you're the perfect guy to talk to and have on the podcast and talk about the nuances of the stalk, because ultimately, you know, it's going to come down, like you can watch and see the biggest buck, the biggest bull in the world, but ultimately it comes down to like being able to move in on that animal and create an opportunity, create a shot, and it's just not easy. So I think it's right in your wheelhouse, dude. You're always stalking on animals.
Yeah, we have a lot of action out here, that's for sure. There's no shortage of animals, and you know, just being in the field that much. And I like to say that I've had a lot of difficult times stalking and a lot of lessons learned, probably more than most people, the amount of action we have here. And yeah, I could probably chime in a couple, you know, tips and strategies that I've learned throughout the past.
You talk about failure, and failure's a prerequisite to stalking. Like, you fail a lot, and the animals teach you what you can do and what you can't do, and you're set up to fail. Those animals, their instincts are so keen, especially your animals here on Hawaii, that they're just going to bust you a lot. And so it feels like a failure, but I once heard Randy Ulmer say that he fails way more than he succeeds, you know, that he succeeds 10% of the time. Now, his pictures of those giant bucks may say differently, but he says the same thing, that being a quality bow hunter, that you fail a lot, and I fail a lot. You watched me miss yesterday.
Yeah, that was nice to see, actually, because I didn't know if you missed at all, Brian. You're such a good shot, so it was like, all right on. He is human.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, well, I learned just as much from you around the hills. Such a good hunter. Man, we've had so much fun on this hunt. So, Mouflon, like let's start there with stalking those, which this applies to stalking axis, to stalking mule deer, to stalking antelope, which you have experience. You hunted antelope last year in the States and got to put the spot and stalk skills to the test versus those, and elk and mule deer. But I mean, those Mouflon, I can never, like, their eyesight is so good. They're not as good at jumping the string on you, but their eyesight is second to none. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you from like a bighorn sheep standpoint or just the sheep species in general, but these Mouflon, I mean, they're, especially these rams, they're picking you out from, man, 700-800 yards away. I mean, you get out of the truck and they're like looking at you. Oh, we're out of here. We see them. You know, you can barely pick them out with your binos. So I don't even know what their vision is, but it is incredible.
Incredible.
So, yeah.
And those sheep do rely a lot on their eyesight, but I always notice, like, the smaller of the species, like Coues deer have the best eyesight out of any of the whitetails, at least in my mind. You know, they're so good at catching you, so switched on. And those Mouflon, like, they come from Corsica, and were introduced into the Hawaiian Islands and then have adapted to just thrive in, your guys' environment around here in different habitats, all the way from the thick trees to the open parks and I really like stalking in the open. The more open terrain I do better at. You do a mix, but I think you like the open terrain as well, and keeping an eye on your critters and being able to spot them, huh?
Yeah, it depends really. I'm actually more of a kind of a thicker country style of hunter. I don't know why. I love being in that real thick country and still hunting through that stuff. I think maybe it's just maybe it teaches me a lot more on noise, sound running through that stuff, or stalking through that stuff, or picking them out through the the thicker bushes and trees, and having to glass through all that to actually find the animals in that kind of area, and then having, I guess, a little bit better chance if you do spot them before they spot you, or before they hear you coming, that you can get a little bit easier play on them. As far as the open country, it seems like they have to be in the right spot for you to even make a stalk to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, either at the bottom of an edge that you can peek over and they're down there, or the open country is just, to me, it's a lot harder to get closer, on these animals, rather than the thicker, bushy country.
That makes sense. Okay, so you do like the thicks and are drawn to the thicks, and that's where a lot of the animals end up, and maybe 100 yards off, or maybe you're already in bow range, so you got to get really good at still hunting, which I think would apply to like hunting elk, where you see them disappear in the timber and they're in a spot and you have to still hunt through there and you have to pick them out again, because you always have to relocate an animal. Even in the open, you see them a long ways off and you get over there, then you got to find them again close, and the key is to see them before they see you. So as you're stalking through this thick cover, you got to slow yourself down, right? You're moving ultra slow, especially when you feel like you're in the zone, where you feel like you're in the zone where there's animals. And then you just slow down your footfalls and really look into the left and to the right, making sure that you catch any animals, and you're just trying to see them first, right? That still hunting is an art through that stuff, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, your binos are everything, just glassing through, as much of that thick stuff and trying to just pick out a discoloration or just the slightest bit of movement in there. And then, once you do find them and you got some decent wind, you got a really good chance in that thick stuff, as long as it's not too loud, of getting on in their bedroom and, getting a good opportunity on a shot that way,
Yeah. Well, and as a lot of times as you're still hunting through that, you end up seeing them in close range, like they're already in bow range.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where you can,
or most times running away in bow range.
Isn't that the truth? That is most times. Yeah, they're so good at catching that movement and seeing you. But I like stalking in the open. Those Mouflon are so good at catching you, and so I think the art of it is, like, whether you're still hunting, whether you're spot and stalking, is just seeing them first, seeing them before they see you, or seeing them before they wind you. Like, the element of surprise is so key, isn't it? Once they're on high alert, once they see something, the game's pretty much over. I mean, you might get an opportunity, you might cut them off, but the time to really kill them and capitalize is when they don't know you're there. So to catch those animals, it seems like, I love getting to good vantage points. I love looking over at country, but you got to almost like hunt your way through country a lot of times, no matter what animals you're hunting. You're hunting a ridge line, or you're hunting, up a draw or up a valley, and you've got to glass and see them first, and kind of glass as you move. Like, even, if you find a good vantage point, like, you have to walk to that vantage point before you get there. And so many times I try to rush to get to the vantage point that'll show me the whole draw, the whole drainage. And I'll take a step over and I'm starting to expose myself, and I just want to sit down in that good spot. What ends up happening is animals see me getting to that good spot, or animals see you, or not see you like in person, but see us or the person.
Oh, they definitely see me in person a lot.
But they see you like coming over the top of things, like that ridge line assault. Like, anytime you can see new country, to glass it, even if you can't see all of it, like glassing the top end, walk over a little bit more, glass the middle end, walk over a little bit more, but just even before you get to the vantage point. It's so key. I don't know how many times those Mouflon, like I'd take 10 steps to go look at a new thing, and they catch me walking. Like, you just got to glass constantly, don't you?
Like you said, so key, just creeping as slowly as you can up to that ridge line. You know, if you're blocked by that ridge and you want to peek over, well, you know, don't get to the top and pop your head over right away, because what you want to do is creep up to where you can just see that drainage on the other side. And just like you said, just, you know, start working your way, you know, get on your tippy toes just to look another, you know, because at that far of range, you know, your tippy toes just get moving up that high. Now you've got, you know, another 20, 30 yards of glassable stuff on the other side of that drainage that, you know, just going up on your tippy toes to look. So, yeah, just keep creeping forward, and like you said, just keep going side by side down until you hit the bottom of that big ravine, that big gulches like we have over here. And yeah, I can't tell you how many times I got caught just this trip alone, just getting to that vantage point and just not taking it slow enough.
You can't move slow enough. They're tough to glass, and God, they're just so good at catching you too. But yeah, I like what you say on your tippy toes. Like, another good move that I've seen you make too is to not ridgeline yourself out. So you're coming to that ridgeline, and instead of walking up, and I kind of like to walk up and glass the new country as it exposes, but you can also duck down and then crawl and make your movement, and then stand up really slow and then kind of glass over it too. I've seen you do that.
Exactly. Yeah, get real low, and then you have more time to just keep, you know, lifting yourself higher and higher to be able to look more, you know, deeper and deeper into that big valley. Or if there's a nice rock pile, instead of getting on top of that rock pile, go around the side of the rock pile. You know what I mean? It's the same thing, just creep really slowly around the side of that rock pile, or trees or bushes, you know, whatever's on that ridge. Just make sure, you know, you don't expose even your head, like any kind of movement, man. It seems like most animals, that's what they pick up the quickest, is the movement.
That's it, isn't it? They see movement. You know, like, we all like good camo patterns and like to blend in. And when they look at you and you're not moving, you like to blend in and have them not see it. And they can pick you out if you're silhouetted, if you're really showing yourself. But a lot of times, it seems like it just comes all down to movement. If they don't catch you moving, like, you're money, you know? As long as you freeze every time they pick up their head. And on a lot of these stalks, I love to keep eyes on the animal that I'm stalking. Like, I love to watch their heads, and I know when all their heads are down feeding, they're not going to see me. They're focused on feeding, and I can take those steps. And when I'm moving with my eyes on these animals, man, I'm moving like the hands of a clock. I am moving so slow to put my leg down, my foot down, because I know if I move fast, they're going to catch me.
Yeah, and the worst is when you're like mid-move to take that step and you have to freeze because one of them, you know, starts looking at you, and then you're just in this awkward position like, oh my God, you know, how long can I hold this position?
Oh, I got stuck in a yoga pose. I know you did too. I got stuck in a yoga pose. My back was getting sore. Oh my God, I sat there so still for so long, and I had him right in range. And if I ducked down, I couldn't keep tabs on him and watch for the big buck to come out. But if I stood there, I could wait. I had to wait 45 minutes. The smaller bucks were feeding around. My back was cramping up. I just could hardly hold still anymore. You wouldn't think it'd be that difficult to hold still. It's one of the most difficult things on planet Earth. That and moving slow. Like, the people don't put enough emphasis in how tough it is to move slow, but to move your legs really slow and your steps really slow takes so much muscle control and balance and flexibility. Like, it is a constant yoga pose out there.
It really is, yeah. That's why a lot of guys that do yoga do really well with that. Me, not so much. I need to get into it.
Dude, is there anything worse than being in a position and cramping? Like, getting a cramp in your leg?
Yeah.
And you just
show's over, you have to move and stretch or something.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I don't even care if they see me. I can't do this any longer.
Yeah, you can't take it. The other worst thing that happens, or the bad thing that happens, is you ever get, like, you seem to get like a tickle in your throat, like you swallow like a piece of sage or a piece of brush. Not you in general, sorry, I just talk
No, but
that
I
way,
do,
but
yeah.
Yeah, gosh dang it.
And
That
you have to cough?
You have to. It, like, you're crying down your face, and the tickle is so bad in your throat, and then you're trying to cough in your sleeve, and nothing gets rid of it unless you actually cough.
I don't understand how, like, because I have had that happen actually more recent than ever before, a couple times, and it was when I was with Janus a few times stalking. I was like, dude, I don't know what happened, but I'm sorry, I just have a coughing attack right now. And of course it's, as we're creeping up on a stalk or something, just like, sorry, I got to get it out. Like, my bad.
Right? It's just the absolute worst, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, those are a couple of the bad
Well,
things
yeah,
that
so
can happen. But
so this one time, I watched these two rams run into this pocket, and I only watched their ewes run out, and I figured, oh, the two rams are still inside there, so I creeped to the edge, slow as I possibly could, and I caught some movement through the timber a little bit, the bushes, and so I just kept my eyes on, and I see a bunch of ewes down in there, and I was like, oh wow, the rams ran in there and they stopped, and like, okay, so I just kept creeping to the edge and I saw, a nice curl in there, what looked like a ram was in there. I saw his horns, and then I saw his ewes by him, and then they finally kind of made their way out to a little bit of an open place in the ravine, and then they sat down, and they all bedded, and I'm like, okay, here's all the ewes, and I creep forward, and I'm only 50 yards, and I'm kind of skylined myself, but they're down in this deeper drainage, and I'm glassing them up, and then all of a sudden one of the ewes just like turns her head just slightly and is just staring right at me, and I have my binos up to my face, and I'm only 50 yards, and I'm like, okay, I can't move my binos, so I'm like, I'll just wait till she puts her head down or looks a different direction, put my binos down. Nope. 45 minutes of my binos up to my eyes. I mean, every other ewe in that group was sleeping, eyes closed, but this one just would not, because she probably saw me just slightly move, would not get her eyes off me. She would not shut her eyes or anything. So I had to literally lift my binos off of my face a good, 5-6 inches, just to be able to get a different peripheral, before my eyes were just going to explode from, the vision of just being up close and personal with something. And God, finally she ended up calming down, and she got up and turned around and bedded, looking the opposite direction. I'm like, yes, thank God. Okay, I can kind of, relax a little bit, move a little more. Nope, the ewe that was sitting right next to her, looking in that, away position, got up 1 minute after she did, and turned and sat down, looking directly in my direction, right up at me. I'm like, what the heck? Like, are you kidding me? It's almost like these things have their back. Like, they know, like, okay, the one got up, turned up, now I have to get up and watch the backside, because, she's not anymore. I mean, fascinating animals, super smart animals.
yeah, they rely so much on their eyesight. And yeah, so you bring up like a really good point, like being able to freeze and hold in that position. It's so key. Like when they look your way, anything looks your way, it's not the time to panic and try to draw back and try to move quick. I see so many beginner bow hunters make this giant movement to try to draw their bow. Like to be stalking these animals, a higher percentage play is to stay still. And even when you got the ram right in front of you, the buck right in front of you, whatever you have, if you have eyeballs on you, it's not your time to move. You're almost better to stay patient and still. Patience kills the buck, right? And so,
oh God, that saying has been in my head ever since you started the podcast, Brian.
Dude, it's so true though, isn't it? You just sit in range and you get comfortable with being in those adrenaline-filled moments, and you get comfortable surveying the situation, and you're watching all their heads. You're waiting for the right angle on that animal. You're waiting for their heads to be down. You're just waiting for that right opportunity. And again, the element of surprise is so important. If those animals don't know you're there and you can get drawn back and execute a shot on a relaxed animal, you're in the money. The moment they know you're there, you're on borrowed time, you're on limited time, they can jump your string, they're moving off, you may not get a shot, your odds drop drastically. So you have to try to keep that element of surprise by never giving yourself away, like always moving in and trying to understand the wind even to a higher level. And I know I've talked about this before, but and it's tough here in Hawaii, but boy, you get those good winds, those good steady winds. You just know you're not going to get busted. You just know that you're good, whether you're playing thermals or directionals, this higher understanding, always putting the wind first when you're moving in on animals. But Yeah, and then just really waiting for the moment to draw your bow and to go all in and to make that movement and never being reckless. It's so important on those stalks, isn't it? So being calm, being able to freeze like you did with your binos to your face, and you're not trying to make a quick move, bring your binos down. You're not trying to draw your bow while they're looking at you. You're not trying to move while they're looking at you. Like right now is a hold still moment. And you may have to hold that for, like you did, 45 minutes before you could make a move. But isn't that the truth when you're stalking? It's a patience game.
Yeah, you have to wait for the right opportunity, because there's a lot of opportunities over here, in Hawaii, and I can't tell you how many times I've rushed a shot, and majority of the times I rush a shot, I don't get that animal, and that's so, like you said, it's a bit. Patience kills the bug.
Oh man, it sure does. Well, and yeah, patience all the way through. But you're really good at moving at animals, and you're really patient. But you're right. You bring up a good, like, waiting for the right shot and not trying to force it. The minute you try to force an arrow into a really tight window, a longer shot, into some brush, like, you're just giving yourself a chance for things to go wrong. And if it can go wrong in bow hunting, a lot of times it does, and sure, you may make that shot and ace that animal, and it may happen, but if you just wait for that animal to be standing, to give you a better angle, to give you a better shot, you're going to make it happen when you get that opportunity, instead of trying to force it in there and maybe get in a bad situation. So it's so key just to wait, isn't it?
Yeah, and your success rate goes way up. It really is. It's key. Just waiting for that right opportunity when that animal's broadside, and even if it's walking through a tight window or something. Now, if it's it's walking and it's short range through a tight window and you feel confident, go right ahead. But I've shot that shot a bunch of times, and my success rate isn't that great. I mean, when you're just better off just waiting for that thing to stop and give you that that really good opportunity, because the more you rush your shots, the more it's gonna give you bad habits, right, with executing your shot. Over here, our animals are constantly moving in and out, and even when they're grazing, they'll stop down, graze for 5-10 seconds, get up, move another 5 feet, graze for 5-10 seconds isn't long enough to draw back and shoot that animal. So yeah, you just have to be patient, man, as much as you can to wait for that golden, like you said, draw back your bow and just have a nice 10-20 seconds of drawing back, settling in, getting the pin exactly where you want. And execution is everything. You can be the best stalker in the world, and when it comes down to executing your shot, if you're not doing it, well, there goes another wounded animal, and it sucks. That's something that you never want to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Really waiting for your shot, and it's a fine line, is it? In hunting, there's so many gray areas. So we talk about being patient, but I've also seen guys be way too patient, not looking for their shot. And I got, like, on the first trip to Hawaii, I had that buck broadside. I was really waiting for my shot, and he was walking, and I had a window to try to stop that buck and shoot him, and I didn't do it. I needed to draw back and stop. So you've also got to look for your shot too, right?
And it's that's like the
this
flip
fine
side,
line.
right? That's the flip side of it, right?
You see new hunters, right, that don't capitalize on opportunities. Like, they get a broadside animal inside their effective range, and they're not trying to shoot it. They're trying to, move closer. They're waiting for
They're just waiting a little bit, too long. As far as our animals, I always tell new hunters that come over here and hunt these things, like, the action comes quick. You'll have that opportunity to shoot it, and it'll be quick. You have to be ready to draw back and execute that shot. If not, we have such thick terrain over here and they move so much, that thing will be out of your life forever in 20 seconds. So.
It will. It's a moving stock, like on elk a lot of times, or any animal for that matter. But the axes are so good at walking away from you, and so, yeah, you get these chances or these opportunities, but your chance at a big axis buck may be one shot window where you have to stop him and you're already drawn back. Or one shot window when he's actually broadside and you can see his whole body and you can execute a good shot. And if you don't take that, they walk out of your life forever, like you're saying. And so you have to look for your shot and know what it looks like. And when you see it, you capitalize and make your shot. So you can't be overly patient either.
Exactly. When you're up there and you're in that crucial time of, okay, I'm in my range and this is when I can this is when I'm going to get my opportunity. Now you better start figuring out, okay, where are your shot windows, ranging whatever you can, figuring out your ranges, so when that thing does walk into that window, if you got a couple different ones, one to your right, one to your left. Another thing I see is when people draw back, and when that animal, takes another couple steps to the right or something, now it's behind a bush or something, a lot of people stay frozen. That animal might stay down, you might have to draw forward, whatever. Most of these animals always have ewes or does around them, so once you draw back, most likely there's an animal that caught you drawing back. Now you can hold as long as you want, but sometimes you just gotta tilt a little bit forward, or back, or just move just slightly to your left or right, just to find, okay, right there it is. There's that little window to get them, instead of that drawing back down, unless you absolutely have to, because you don't have anywhere that you can slightly move to get a shot off. But making your shot opportunity is key.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Once you draw back, and you never want to release a bad arrow. And I've let down on that animal this last week a couple times before I shot in the wind. I just couldn't hold steady, but I could see, both the animals and know that they weren't looking at me. But you're right. When you draw back, you got to really look for that window, and you don't want to slide over quickly. Everything is slow, and that's another mistake I see, or like the more inexperienced bow hunters, I'll see them when they draw back, it's big movement. Like I practice drawing my bow back and holding it in the spot and drawing back with the littlest amount of movement I can. Slowly drawing that thing back and easing those limbs back and not having a bunch of
That's a good point, Brian. That's a really, really good point.
Yeah, that drawing your bow, it's the last move you have to make for getting your arrow off. And I know just those little moves you make right there, they make the difference of getting a shot and not getting a shot. And when I'm with more inexperienced bow hunters that have a big movement to their draw, their opportunities just seem to slip between their fingers because they get caught drawing, they get caught in the last movement, and pretty soon they didn't get a shot or it didn't come together. Where the more experienced bow hunters that really draw slow and know when to draw, they tend to get more shots. They tend to get more opportunities or make more opportunities.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because a lot of people, that's why I shoot a little bit, slightly lower poundage bow, just so I'm not struggling trying to get that thing back in any kind of quick jerky movement or whatever. Just a nice smooth draw, and sometimes you might have to wait like half draw because something might be on you, or whatever. Just a nice smooth, so it doesn't pick any kind of sporadic movement. At least, I mean, these axis, they are so keen. Like if you draw back too quick, or even if that thing's like slightly looking away, I mean, not even looking towards your direction, you draw back a little sporadic, that thing's like, foop, spins his head around completely backwards, like he's got you pinned. I'm like, what the heck? I didn't even make any noise. All I did was draw back. It's amazing. Eyesight is crazy.
Yeah, well, and the noise of your bow too. So over here on these axis, they'll jump your string so bad, worse than any animal I've ever seen. But also antelope will jump your string, mule deer will jump your string, whitetails, I say 1 in 4 mule deer jump your string. They're bad at it. But they so you gotta, when you shoot like that bow noise is so important. But where it's also really important is drawing your bow, making sure your bow is quiet when you go to draw back, that your arrow doesn't squeak off the rest or make a screech noise. I had my cam squeak one time on one of my bows that I had, and what happened was it creaked as I draw back. It got some dust in there or something. I had to take it apart. It happened during season.
Wow.
But it creaked just a little bit when I drew back. And I was drawn back on a giant 7-point bow in bow range, and my bow creaked like that. And they all turned their head and looked right at me.
You
And the
gotta be
scenario ended up
kidding me.
blowing up. Yeah, and I had them,
Oh my God.
But making sure you have an ultra quiet bow is so important when you're drawing.
Yeah, it is. I've actually kind of, I do a lot of filming on my bow. I have my camera on my bow or whatever. And I've been noticing the drawback of your arrow on your rest sometimes.
Yes.
Make the arrow sliding against metal. So if you don't have a little padding on that arrow rest, yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah, get some padding on there. It makes such a huge difference. And it comes down...
Or your quiver not being tight enough on the release of the shot.
Yep.
Your arrow's in your quiver.
Arrows in your quiver being loose makes a vibration or a rattle noise, and I heard it on my bow just because I was swapping out arrows and things, and I had one a little loose in there, and yeah, you shoot, and then it isn't even your bow noise, it's the noise of your quiver, a little bit of vibration. Man, they'll jump your string from that for sure. Yeah. And then, there's a couple elements. There's having a quiet bow, there's also having a quiet arrow. Fixed blades make a lot of noise in the air. Not that I'm,
that's true.
Talking, but you sit down range, and if you record down range or sit behind a wall and have somebody shoot, you can hear it. And what you hear is you hear the bow go off, and then right after that you hear a zoom, and the arrow hits. So there's two noises there. There's the noise of the bow, and they can jump that. They can also jump the noise of your arrow. Fixed blades are way noisy coming through the air. There's different fletchings that make different noises.
Fletchings.
I've had noisy fletchings, so I try to get the most quiet fletching. But sit down range and have somebody shoot their bow down there and listen to it. And the quieter the arrow, that also helps. And man, like all this stuff, it may not make a difference on your scenario this season. But the devil's in the details. And the more you pay attention to all these details, you're just putting so much more in your favor for it to go right when you get your once-in-a-lifetime chance at a giant buck or bull or whatever you're after,
That's true, too. Depending on the animals and how skitsy they are. These access deer are just ridiculous. I mean, the arrow, they definitely hear that thing coming. I swear, if these access deer are looking at you or they're just on alert, and say they're broadside, you draw back, but they're on alert, say the does are on alert or have been barking at you for a little while, and man, you go and release that arrow, they are either dropping anywhere from 1 to, they could probably drop 2.5 feet, maybe even more on a bigger buck, or they're just out of the way, right? They're gone. I mean, I've seen shots 40 yards. The doe is, I don't know, let's say about 4 feet gone already. 4 feet at 30, 40 yards, like on a 60, 65 pound, bow. That's a fast arrow, and yeah, it's incredible.
That's what I see when animals duck the string. They're reacting to the noise of the bow or the noise of the arrow. But yeah, a lot of these animals that I'm shooting at that are 40, 50 yards,
so when they're on alert, though.
Definitely the buck I shot that was on alert. Yeah, he spun. And the other one that I missed, they were kind of moving out, so they were probably alert too. Even though they didn't know I was there, that he reacted to the string too. But I notice a lot of times when I say ducking the string, it's not just that they duck, and I've seen them do that too, where they duck and your arrow misses high on close shots. But the farther shots, like you say, those animals are feet out of the way by the time that arrow gets there. An antelope or a mule deer, a lot of times I'll shoot, that animal is already out of the way by the time the arrow gets there. And same with these two axes that I shot at. I mean, they were feet out of the way by the time the arrow got there.
Yeah, so if I think if they're staring at you when you shoot, so they, for one, they'll hear the bow probably go off, and for two, that arrow's coming, and yeah, that's just the
nature of the axis, right, is to react.
Yeah.
They sit and look that direction. The moment they hear something or see something, they use those quick twitch muscle fibers, and they just explode out of there.
Yeah. Now, if they're broadside, what'll happen sometimes is, like you said, they'll hear the arrow coming, and that'll make them duck down, even if they have no idea you're there. One time, I think I talked about this once in the past, but I was crossing by this axis buck. He was grazing at like 10 feet away. And I had to get past him. There was only one, quiet trail to get past him, and there was just this big monster buck was screaming on the other side, about 100 yards away, down in this pocket. I wanted to go check, but this one solo buck, was by himself. So I ended up creeping my way past him, and as I got, probably 7 feet away from him, and I was, just getting parallel to pass by him, my clip to my backpack just grazed a branch. And it just made this weird little clinging noise, right? That is just not natural out in the bush. And this axis, like, he was still grazing, but he dropped down like a couple of inches and just did the biggest flinch. I was like, what the heck? I was like, wow. And I was so close. I was like, that's amazing. And then I just went by a little further. Then I cracked a twig just the slightest little bit. And sure enough, he flinched again. I don't know if that grass must have tasted good, because he didn't really get to alert, but he flinched on all these little tiny noises that when I was passing by, I ended up being able to get by him without him knowing, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, seeing that happen and just those little 2 flinches on 2 different sounds was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that noise, like all of their you got to watch out for all their senses when you're stalking in, but that noise, man, that is so important, is to be able to manage your noise, and it's all by moving slowly, and then like seeing those, like over here it's a lot of hard trails, like trying to find that hard trail through country that you can step on, that trail that's worn down that you can be quiet on. But managing that noise is so key. The wind sure helps out. If you can get a little wind, boy, that sure hides your noise as you're moving through. But it's such a major facet of getting close to these animals, because gosh, when you're stalking these things, like you'll have this thought in your head that you just want to hurry up and get around this bush, get around this tree, get to the opening, get to where they're at. Like you're just fighting this urge at all times, and your body like makes you want to go fast right at the end. Like hurry up and have it happen, whether it blows up or
isn't
not.
That the truth?
It's just like your body's screaming at you to hurry up, see what's around the bush, see what's over the ledge. And what happens is if you start to listen to it, you move too quick, and then the animals bust you because they hear you, they see you, and you just went too quick in the end. You have to fight those urges, and the closer you get, the slower you get. And I try to think of it as, they may move off and I may not get a shot, and I'll be fine with that, but I'm not going to blow it up because I'm hurrying too much or rushing too much. I'm not going to blow it up because I, broke a stick and I'm 5 yards away from where I'm going to shoot and let them know I'm there. But that's such a hard lesson to learn, but it's so important for hunters, isn't it?
It's like the 2 little dudes sitting on top of your shoulder and talking into each ear.
The good and the bad,
the
right?
good and the bad. You got to get there. They're going to be out of there. You got to go now. The other guy's like, you know how many times you've done that and you never got success? You better slow down and just creep your way forward. I mean, it's just wrecking your brain there. And a lot of times and then you got the eye on the prize, right? That's always the one. You got the eye on the prize. You see that freaking trophy, or that meat deer, and you're creeping forward, and you all of a sudden now you're just focusing on him, and you forgot all about, there might be a bunch of does with him, or say you see the does with him, you think, okay, that's all there is, so you're creeping forward a little too fast, and then before you know it, you didn't stop, take the time to really pan out the area and find every head, every spot, every movement in that area, and then sure enough, busted.
Yeah, you bring up a good point there, Sean, is your peripheral. It's you said you get your eye on the prize, and so this is so important as you start looking at the buck or bull, ram, whatever you're going to harvest, and you start looking at it and you get your eyes on it, and you get so fixated and focused on that animal that you stop looking to the left and looking to the right. You're not looking for the other bucks that are with them, or you're not looking for the does that are with them, and you're right, you've got to almost take a step or two and then look to your left and look to your right. Even though nothing's there, you just got to keep looking and keep moving slow. Because a lot of times what happens is you're moving up on that animal, and if you're looking left or right, you catch that doe or you catch that other buck, and you have to freeze right there before you can get your shot or move in the rest of the way. But yeah, it's so important to continue to look left and right to catch those other deer before you get into that buck or whatever the animal is.
And you better keep your eyes on those animals that you can see at the same time. So if, look left, look right. If you don't see anything over there, and when I say look left, look right, don't be cranking your head left and right and making all that movement. Use your eyes as much as you possibly can to just scroll as far left to your, eye can't go any further left, and same thing with right. And then when there's nothing to your left and your right, before you make any step, get your eyes back on those animals in front of you and keep your eyes on them as you start moving forward. And if you got to look down to see where you're stepping, use your eyeballs to look down, not your head to look down. There's less amount of head movement as possible.
And I'm also looking at these stalks. When I'm evaluating a stalk, I'm looking for where I'm going to get my shot at. Do you look for that as well? Like, I can shoot over this bluff and get a shot. Or, I'm going to be across from him. I'm going to be able to see him. Because you see these animals, and to just work into them, you're not going to get a shot or kill them, or a lot of times it won't work out. But you try to almost work to a spot that's in good wind where you can see him again and relocate him. So making a good solid plan is so beneficial in the end of a stalk.
Yeah, that's crucial too. That's a good point, Ryan. Definitely, especially if they're kind of feeding a certain direction or moving a certain direction. Yeah, scan, look to where you might want to set up and stuff like that before you just move in on them, and now you're like screwed because you have absolutely no no window to shoot through.
Yeah. Well, and a moving stock too is a lot of times like the deer around here are always moving, like trying to look in front of them too, trying to angle not right at them or behind them, but trying to angle into them or in front of them or quartering into them, moving to where they're moving a lot of times.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you move into them while they're moving into you, that's just the recipe for disaster.
Well, and you got to watch where you set up too, because sometimes you set up when you see them and you're sitting right on their trail. And so then they're all coming at you, and the does end up busting you before you ever get a chance at the buck.
Oh, that's happened a bunch of times. Yeah, coming right down on your same trail. I mean, that's just kind of a crapshoot because we have game trails everywhere. But yeah, I mean, sometimes if you can get off a trail, because you never know if they're going to be coming on that one or not.
Yep. Well, that experience is the best teacher. And like we started in the beginning of the podcast, like you get a lot of chances and opportunities, and from those you just try to learn and get better, and you'll learn a hard lesson, and sometimes I've got to learn that lesson 2 or 3 times over before it really sticks. But then you just almost have to have that like a hard rule that you live by. Like I never, I've done this a couple times and it may sound stupid, but like I have a bluff and there's something bedded below that bluff, and the wind's like just quartering over the edge, and I think, oh, maybe the wind's blowing over them, or it's just angled just enough, and I try to cheat that wind. I've learned that lesson like a couple 2-3 times over, where it's just now I just know better. If the wind isn't there, I know it's blowing over and circling in there, but some of these lessons you pay attention to, and you have to learn a couple times before it really sticks, but then you have to live by them. There's nothing worse than making a mistake and then going, I shouldn't have done that. I know better than doing that. That's like it's like a tactical error, and I hate making those tactical errors.
Yeah, it's just gonna happen though.
Oh yeah.
It's like better, but it still always happens. So you just try to do the best you can. So.
You do. Well, the game is set up to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Those animals are so good at catching us. Their instincts are so keen that you're not gonna win every time.
Yeah, you're always getting that reminder.
Yeah,
hey, don't you remember? You can't do that.
No, they're gonna win the majority of the time.
Yep.
You just try to learn from it and make your best play on them to give yourself the best chance.
Yeah.
And definitely, the more you stalk and the more you do it, the better you get. But it's also like paying attention to those little things.
Yeah.
Range finding's another key.
Mm-hmm.
Like having the right range, trying to range through the grass, through the brush, making sure that you have the right range.
Or pre-range,
Yep.
Some areas they might be moving into, some rocks, trees, whatever.
Yep. I
You
like
know
that
exactly,
too.
boom, they could get into that spot, exactly what the range is, and you don't have to do any more movement with your rangefinder. Once you get that rangefinder up to your eye, try and range a bunch of places, unless you've got, that range on that animal and you're ready to shoot.
Yeah, it's so key, like when you're calling elk, is when you make any calling setups that you range everything around you, so you pretty much know what everything is before that bull comes out. Yeah,
exactly.
That's so key. Yeah, you've done good, man. You got a heck of a bull that you arrowed, coming back this year to Montana to hunt elk again.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Can't wait. And those hills are no joke. we're used to kind of sea level hunting, or maybe a couple thousand feet max. I mean, those mountains, I don't even know how you train for them, really. It's just, you just got to get up there and get acclimated with it, and let your lungs just scream for a little while, and then hopefully you're good to go after that.
That's it. Yeah, your body
get
adapts.
broken in.
That's it.
But so fun. God, you guys got some beasts, some hills and mountains up there. It's just a blast. You can just go and get lost all day long, and having camp on your back, like we don't do that over here, so it's just a whole nother atmosphere that is just so fun to do. Just be in the elements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the West is such a fun place, and elk is such a fun species. And then you've got an antelope tag and then a deer tag as well, so you're going to be busy.
Yeah, antelope is a blast. It's a lot like our hunting over here. That's what I would probably recommend as far as the animals that I have hunted over there. Antelope hunting. Tried it last year for the first time, and I was humbled pretty good, which was awesome, because I'm thinking, hey, I can stalk anything, I hunt all the time, year round, on these animals we have that are super tough to get on. And so these antelope, first thing, I don't know, man, I feel bad, Brian, because you were with me like all day hunting these things, and we're finding every buck we'd see, I'm launching out of the truck. Like, I can make a play on them. It's like wide open. There's like 4 bushes and 200 yards I'm thinking I can get to. Belly crawling one to the next, like just to be able to get, nope, hell no. Those things got such good eyesight. It was good. It was fun, man. I think I had more fun antelope hunting than elk hunting just because of the difficulty. So then by the end of the antelope hunting, I just figured out, hey, wait till these things are in a good place to go do your stalk. Wait till there's some good topography to be able to sneak up on them, because there's no getting close to them in the open. So finally we started making some good plays on when they were in better places. And it was fun.
You arrowed a buck, yeah.
Finally arrowed one on the last day.
Yeah. Oh man, it was fun though, wasn't it? It
was great. Like the one stalk we had, I always told Brian, like, I would love to go on a mule deer hunt, because when I see a lot of these stalks on these high country mule deer hunts, when you're creeping over the edge and it's just a steep slope and the mule deer is bedded below you, I've never had an actual stalk like that before. So it was so cool that this one antelope kind of went up this hill, about 300, 400, 500 foot hill, and kind of bedded up on the side, and me and Brian made the play all the way around to get on top of him, and we were creeping down, and got on top of him, and I peeked my head over, and God, I knew he was top pin, he was within 20 yards, and then so I kind of bent down. I was like, oh, they're right here, and then Brian kind of peeks up behind me to get a range on him, because I blew some shots not getting good ranges, and I think one of the ewes, or what do you call them, does, for antelope?
Yep, does.
Yeah, might have picked you off range finding, or either that, or they just have that sense that they know danger is right next to them. And yeah, man, that was one of our better opportunities on our better antelope bucks, and just ran when I should have just drawn back and popped up and smoked them, but hey, lesson learned.
We were close. Yeah, there's
so fun.
But you do bring up a good point, is waiting for him to be in the right spot. You kind of learn what the right spot is, and on those antelope, you want it to be a high percentage play, and so big part of hunting them is when to stalk them.
Exactly.
Choosing when to stalk them.
High percentage plays. Yep. Exactly, I like that.
And they don't live in the thicks too much. It's all wide open. But you're right. It's using that topography, trying to find a little rise or a little hill. And it's amazing how much topography the country will give you a lot of times. A lot of times you do think it's wide open, but there's a draw in there or a little depression, or use a ridge line. So you're really trying to use that topography and do a lot of your moving out of sight, because these animals will catch you at a few hundred yards, so you're always trying to move out of sight from them.
Yeah, there's a couple other good plays too, is if you get to a spot and you just can't move any further in, don't try and rush it and get in there when like this chance of you actually being able to arrow this animal is, I don't know, like 2% or something like that. Like it's probably not going to happen. Just wait, just hang tight, that 100 yards away or whatever. You never know, they might jump up and start walking in your direction, and I can't tell you how many times that's happened. And like you said, patience.
Yeah, you just don't blow up the scenario. You let it keep progressing. You let it keep happening. And you're so right. Like, a lot of times if you just wait, you don't blow them up. You don't force it to failure. You don't force it till it doesn't happen. You just kind of sit back and just chill and wait for him to get to a better spot. And I'm exactly like you. I can't tell you how many times where I've just waited and been patient, and those animals will move to a way better spot where you got a good chance at killing them. So not trying to realize when it's not going to happen or when it is low percentage, and pulling off it is so important.
Yeah, like the first time you came to Hawaii, you had 2 really good plays on bucks, and we were 60 yards, 70 yards, and we just couldn't move any closer, so we just had to wait it out, and they'd get up and kind of feed towards us a little bit, and there's your opportunity.
Yep.
Instead of trying to creep down there the extra 20 yards when that chance is probably not going to happen.
Right.
On success.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Yeah, be patient. Wait, you never know. They might get up, start making their way right for you.
Right? Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Well, man, so much fun. Thanks for having me. All the hospitality.
Oh, it's been
Hunting those
great.
things, man. What an adventure! Gosh, I'll put out we'll put out some IG stories and some photos, and then have the podcast with the guys tonight. That'll be fun, huh?
Oh, it's always a blast, man. I don't know. We had so much. We had just about everything happen. It was freaking awesome, man. We had Remy in camp with us, and David Wise, and you, and my two hunting partners over here, Janus and Robin, and us six. We full scent, bro. Just went after it, man. We went hard all day in the hot baking sun over here, and it was great.
What a crew of guys!
And we
right?
had just about everything happen, from trucks breaking down to what else happened? You know, guys were forgetting which days it were, thinking they're leaving tomorrow, and they're not leaving for a
Gosh,
few
I'm
days.
just finally starting to feel human. We were working off about 3-4 hours of sleep a night, and just going as hard as we could absolutely go. And what a riot, huh?
It was great times. I mean, it's all hammer hunters, so everybody was just going as hard as possible and just giving it their all. You know.
How wild was it to meet David too? Like to be able to pick his brain. I'm gonna get him on the podcast too, but just the mental toughness side of it. 2-time Olympic gold medalist, like out there bow hunting with us, and he just, how you do one thing in life is how you do everything. So that's how he treats his hunting too, you know. So he just went for it. He was really looking to arrow something. Ended up arrowing a critter on the hunt. He was psyched.
Oh yeah, he was just so ecstatic, and he did good. You know, he got it, I think, on his second to last day, and he was just out there pushing as hard as he could, and he did really well. You know, he's a good hunter, great shot, and really great guy. You know, everybody was awesome. I mean, everybody's got their own little different personalities, and we just all clicked really well. But it's all right. It's fun.
We did all click really well. We all hunted together and split up and go with each other and go solo, and god dang it, we just tried to help everybody out along the way. Just couldn't have been a better trip. What an amazing adventure.
I'll tell you the truth, coming into this Mouflon hunt, the success rate is, what were we thinking, on good rams, maybe 2.5%?
2.5%
on good rams.
Yeah.
You know, there's all different kinds of rams out there. We got bad genetic rams and you know, baby rams and stuff like that, but because there's no age limit. You can shoot whatever ram you want, and you just got to put your tag on them. And I'm thinking, hey, you know, if one of us gets a really nice ram, that's success for the whole trip out of everybody, you know. I was like, oh, we got Remy with us. Like, my money's probably on him, or, you know, on you, Brian. And sure enough, man, three out of the 6 of us got really nice rams. It was just 50%. Like, that's, yeah, you know, phenomenal.
Oh, we can't beat it. What an amazing adventure. Stoked. Dude, those things are so challenging, so fun to hunt, and the terrain they live in, and the steep and in the rocks. I just love hunting and stalking in that country, and it wouldn't be sheep hunting unless you were a little cliffed out here and there, you know, got a little bit scared here or there. But
and what was awesome was coming back, you know, in the evenings, because everybody would just go and do their own thing, and coming back and just brainstorming on, hey, what worked for you, and everybody has different styles of hunting. So you know, that's really cool too about it, is, you know, just collaborating on, you know, what works, success, failures, what to do right, what went wrong, and just figuring it out from there. You know, like the open country worked really well, finding them in a good spot and being able to, you know, work down this drainage 500, 600, 700 yards down towards the ocean, and then pop up over this rise and know he was down in there, and, you know, make a play that way. Like, yeah, it was killer.
So fun. Well, yeah, I just can't thank you enough, man, for your friendship and for having me out here, the hospitality. What a trip. What a great podcast. Going to be fun with tonight with the guys too. So, yeah, we'll get a few things done, and gosh, we'll jump back on the mics here in a little bit.
Sounds good, Brian.
Right
Thanks,
on.
man.
Okay.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Again, super fun conversation with my buddy Sean. The guy just lives, eats, sleeps, and breathes bow hunting. He just absolutely loves it. And so he's the perfect guy to have on the podcast. He is also such a great hunter, too. And I really respect his skills. And so it's great to have those in-depth conversations. He was nice enough to have me over at his place there and have me out on that hunt, which I had an absolute blast on. And so can't thank those guys enough. And like I say, he just left here, able to bring a nice bull and nice buck antelope home. So he's got some good Montana meat headed home. And so pumped for those guys. a lot of close calls. It's just tough out here out west. So, this podcast is just perfect. The nuances of spot and stock, because like I say, you only get so many opportunities, and then it's what you do with them. And I right now, like as I say that, I can think back at some high country mule deer opportunities that I had that I duffed. A couple mistakes I made, couple things I couldn't change. But gosh, to make those mistakes just eat you up, because it's all about performing under pressure and making the right decisions. And I've made some right ones this season, also made some wrong ones. So just like you guys, I'm always looking to improve and get better. So, yeah, I mean, right now, I just got to carry it into season. Got this Montana elk hunt coming up. I'm going to leave here in a couple days. Things got postponed a little bit with my cameraman, but we're going to get out there and start hunting some elk. So I got a couple days here. Take care of this podcast, take care of my other work, my responsibilities, hang out with the fam, try to catch some volleyball games, and I'll be on my way before I know it. Super pumped at this hunt. Just so fortunate that I have time this season and be able to chase my dreams, and just had an absolute riot. So much fun in success and in failure. So much fun. I can't wait for the rest of the season. Now we're getting into the cold weather hunts. I got a handful of inches of snow outside and probably a foot in the mountains, and so it's going to get cold. But yeah, I'm looking forward to these late season opportunities. Okay, I want to thank our sponsors for today's show, Swagger Bipods and Matthews Bows. Thanks to those guys for their support. And yeah, I see the Eastmans are having some success. So I told you guys I saw Ike killed a really good buck with a good flyer. Pump for him. Guy's been helping the hunt winners. I think they got a couple bulls down or a bull down or something. So they're doing good. And I know Scott Reekers, he's out on his deer hunt now. He's been hunting pretty hard here since rifle opened up. And yeah, I know Brandon's been out. So yeah, I just got to catch up with the guys. I know Dan's had some success. Who knows how much? That guy's just an absolute killer. He's great on the podcast and a great bow hunter. So I can't wait to see what he's turned up. It looked like one heck of a bull he killed there in Wyoming. So I need to get a closer look at that thing. But yeah, pumped for those guys. Pumped to catch up to him here. Going to make a run over to the office here. I don't know, this winter, so get some good recordings, and yeah, just be good to catch up and hang out with those guys. So I'm pumped. I still got some of my season left. I'm ready to go hard and leave it all out on the field. And so yeah, just take off here in a couple days, and we'll go chase some elk. So thanks you guys for the support. Thanks for the feedback on that live podcast. I think I'll try to do more of those. And pumped for your guys' success. And gosh, I think that's about it, right? That's about it. All right, well, close this off, and I'll check in with you guys next week.